There we go. Thank goodness I did that. Thanks, Jackie. Okay, so again, I am obviously not Melissa Gratz. I am Robin Martin, and I'm taking the helm tonight because Melissa is traveling. So we are going to talk this evening about time management, but maybe from a different point of view than we have in the past. One thing I think the leaders were talking about is making sure, does anyone have issues or questions about the Cheers to 20 Years incentive? Does everyone know what counts for this month? If you don't, raise your hand. Everyone knows what counts for this month? Yeah, okay, I'm not seeing any hands raised. All right, I think we're good. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen so you can see my, there it is, the desktop. Oh, okay, here we go. I'm going to move this up here. So we are going to talk this evening about time management. If you have questions, just unmute and ask, because I can only see 3 or 4 of you now. So if you have questions, please unmute and ask, because I'm happy to answer the questions. I'm hopeful that most of what you might ask I will answer as we go along, but still, I don't want you to forget your question. Okay, so we've all talked in the past about time management. We've talked about things that we need to do or should do to be more efficient, more effective, and more productive in our work days and in our home lives, whatever. But we're all very busy. Everyone is busy. And so it's very easy to get overwhelmed with all the things you have to do, should do, need to do, and want to do. And in the end, you end up really maybe not accomplishing as much as you'd like to. My grandma used to say that sometimes when you're super busy, you are the jack of all trades and the master of none. So you're getting a little bit done in a lot of different things, but really not completing anything very well. And while that will work for a while, it can be very frustrating and weigh on you mentally because you feel like you're never getting anything done because all of those categories still end up on your to-do list. Okay. So sometimes when we want to make changes or we want to try something new, we do these big sweeping changes and it doesn't work like New Year's resolutions, right? Who makes New Year's resolutions and breaks them? That would be me, right? So we try to do these things, but because we're making really big changes, big sweeping changes, and we aren't fully integrating into the normal life we already had going, then often they don't work. It doesn't end up being something that works very well because you jump in, you get all excited, and then you've got to go back and do your real life stuff. And pretty soon you take a little bit of time away and then a little bit more. And pretty soon you're not doing anything that you had planned to do. So when I did this training in January of 2023, we were talking a lot about resolutions and we were talking about new ideas and things like that. And we were talking about strategies for time management. But what we never touched on, and I really never realized was such a big component of it until now, is the mental aspects of time management. You can have a perfect calendar all set up with your time blocked or a schedule of I'm going to do this day and this day and this day. You can have all of that done, but if it leaves you feeling drained and frustrated and frantic and guilty because you're not spending as much time with your family as you should, or you're shuffling everybody to the next thing, then it really isn't working for you. So obviously we all have goals. We have things we want to do, things we want to try. I mean, we're women and we are strong, independent business women. And so we're not weak. Obviously, we can make things happen. But oftentimes we get caught up in trying to be everything for everybody and we forget to take care of ourselves and we forget to think about how what we're doing for everyone else affects us. So tonight we're going to hit on some of those things as well as some time management ideas. So, all right, time management. You guys, school, training, Scentsy, work, friends, there's always something that needs to be done. If you're caring for extended family members, if you've got kids on teams or groups, Cindy was saying she's in the car, right? Driving home from the hockey rink. There's always something that needs to be done. And it's very easy to get so caught up in getting everything done that you forget to stop and enjoy things. And you forget to really see how it's affecting you. Because in everything that's on that screen right now, every single one of those, there is an element that is core, and that element is time. Okay. Time is always the element that is key. Do we have time to do it, or do we not have time? How much time will it take? How much time do we have? So there's a lot of different things that time has to do. So we all have the same 24 hours in a day. But I bet if I took a poll of everyone on this screen tonight, every single one of us use our day differently. Every one of us. And I used to have people say to me, well, if you want it bad enough, you'll make it happen. Stay up later, get up earlier, give up doing da da da. If I said I was tired one day, someone says, well, you should not have a garden. Or why do you have so many goats? You know, don't do events. Somebody always wants you to quit something that you enjoy as soon as you say you're tired or you've got a lot going on. And that can get very frustrating. So, to some extent, you make a plan, you set aside time, right? And then something happens. Today, I had all this time set aside to be working on my slideshow and all that kind of stuff. And I had a goat get very sick, and she's now in the intensive care up in Ohio State University. Did I plan for that? No, I didn't. But I worked around it as best I could. And that's a lot of times what we do. But you will have people say to you, there was a quote that somebody made, and I can't remember, I don't want to attribute it to anyone specific, but he said, if you have a plan and you let what happens during your day sway your plan, you didn't want it bad enough. So I will say to you, without trying to be sexist, that that was a man speaking, because we know a lot of times as women, we're trying to fix everything for everybody, right? Trying to get everything done. And so just because you have a plan and something happens to derail it, doesn't mean that the plan is totally gone. It means that you had an idea of what you wanted to accomplish. And now instead of having that big block of time set aside, you have the opportunity to find smaller pieces that you can pick up that apart and work on it anyway. So some things can still get done, maybe just not in the original form that you intended. Okay. So what has more impact? Big waves of change or SMART goals? And I think we probably all know what SMART goals are, but just in case, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time specific. So it's really easy to say, I'm going to spend 2 hours every day working on my Scentsy. Now, in the reality of your life, could you suddenly pull 2 hours out of your day and work on Scentsy? The desire is there, but the ability to pull that time out of nowhere probably isn't there. So making a SMART goal instead that says, I'm going to I'm going to get these tasks accomplished during the time I have today. I'm going to get these tasks accomplished during the time I have tomorrow. Will you still be spending 2 hours? Sure, you will, but over several days, and you will still get everything done. So you can make big waves of change, but most of the time when you do that, you end up failing because you haven't fully integrated that change into your life. So you get all excited and you do it, and then you have to go back and pick it apart a little bit, take a little time away, and pretty soon that big change is gone and you're right back to what you were doing before. All right. Finding time. Finding time is the one that's easiest mentally on all of us because you are not making a choice between doing this or doing that. You are mentally better adjusted to this because what you're doing is picking out little pockets of time that you already have. You're not giving up anything, you're not getting rid of anything, and you're not being forced to make a choice between things that you think are important. Okay, so finding time refers to those little pockets of time that we all have. Um, Cleaning up the kitchen while your baby naps, paying bills while you're in the kid pickup line, stamping your catalogs while you're sitting at sports practice, right? All of those little pockets of time where we find ourselves scrolling on our phone, you could set 10 minutes aside, 5 minutes aside, whatever. Those small pockets of time can be used pretty well if you know what you're going to do. If you know that this week I really need to make 20 follow-up text calls, contacts with customers. All right, well, it only takes a couple of minutes to send a text. Some of them you can cut and paste and just tweak a little. So while you're sitting in the line, send 3 or 4 texts. While you're in the Starbucks line or while you're at kid practice, things like that, you can find those little things of time. And it's about being more intentional. The thing about finding time is that when you find that time and you look back on your day, it's easier to say, wow, I got a lot done. I got all my regular tasks that I need to do, and I fit in my business too. And that's important. I used this example before. I had a conversation with somebody who said, I don't have time to work my business. I never even remember I do Scentsy until it's payday and I don't get one. And she says, I just don't have time. I don't have time. And I recall a lot of things about her, and she likes to watch Yellowstone when it was on. And I said, well, you watch Yellowstone, right? And she goes, yeah, but I'm not giving up my show. I said, well, you don't have to give up your show, but what are you doing while the commercials are on? And it was dead silence. It never occurred to her. She was just sitting and mindlessly watching the commercials. And in a 30-minute show, there's only 24 minutes of programming. So there was 6 minutes right there. And in an hour show, you double that to about 12. So there was time for her to at least schedule a post or send an email or a text or whatever. So looking at the mental component of that, I would say to you, if that watching a show Wednesday night with your kids is something that is sacrosanct, it's family time and you guys really enjoy it. If working during the commercials would make you feel guilty or unhappy, or your kids would get upset with you, then that's probably not the right choice of finding a pocket of time for you. Because mentally, that's going to wear on you. You're going to feel guilty that you weren't paying attention, even though we know it's a commercial. Your littles don't always know that. They don't always get that part. So this is where that mental component comes in. So if you feel like you're letting people down, you're not going to feel accomplished when you get done. Not at all. You're going to feel like, oh, I shouldn't have been doing that. And they asked me a question and I was busy. Just let me finish this text. You have to decide when those pockets of time are best for you to use. Okay. If it makes you feel rushed or irritated or unhappy, then that accomplishment is really not an accomplishment in the mental realm of things. Okay. And then you're going to have frustration. You found time, but it didn't make you happy. And now you're disgruntled about it. So that's something to consider, which we didn't talk about before. So making time requires you to make a choice. And that's harder because you have to decide, will I do this or will I do that? You don't get to do both. So you're choosing between A or B. You're rethinking how you spend the time in your life. You are asking yourself, is it worth it? Will it make me happy? Am I going to feel accomplished when I get done, or am I going to feel unhappy that I had to give up? Like, for example, if there was something going on, there was a training call, maybe, okay? And you wanted to do it, but it was at a time where you and your family had already planned to go out and see a movie. Well, you could choose to do the training. Would it make you feel better that you did that you spent that time on Scentsy, or would it make you resentful that Scentsy took you away from your family? So those are the choices you have to ask yourself. Is it going to make me happy, satisfied? Am I going to feel accomplished when I get done? And what am I willing to give up? Am I willing to give up a little bit of sleep to get this done? Or no? No, I'm really not. It's not going to make me happy. So for some people, sleep is a big priority, right? And they'll miss out on other things just so they can get sleep. There are maybe that for them, getting up early to work on Scentsy before anyone else gets up is not the answer, because they're going to be grumpy and tired all day because they didn't get the sleep that they know they require. I know somebody who gets up every morning and makes a big deal about breakfast. She is all about breakfast. And she even restructured her college classes. I've known her since we were teenagers. When we were in college, she restructured her college classes. So she took evening classes and gave up an evening social life so she could have time for a leisurely breakfast. It was that big of a deal to her. That was important. There are people who go to lunch while they're working and they turn off their phones and they meditate. Using that lunch hour to get work done would not be beneficial to them. It would not be a choice that would make them feel satisfied and grounded and happy. So you have to decide whether the choice that you make is going to make you feel good, whether it's going to affect your family life, your own personal life and how your day goes, or your job. Okay? So those are the questions you need to ask. And so then the other part about making time is the other question asked is can I nudge this a little bit? Can I nudge this activity by 20 minutes so I could use that 20 minutes to send out these texts or do a project broadcast or follow up with this customer? Can you nudge something a little bit? That's still making time. That's still making a choice, but sometimes you can do both. Sometimes it means you have to give up something else. So making time means you have to look hard at what you do and detail its worth. For example, you're not going to decide to stay home and make phone calls to your customers during your son's baseball game. Most people wouldn't do that, or your hockey game. You're not going to do that because the worth is not there for you. Let's see. The cost. Yeah, you have to decide whether the cost is worth it, whether what you're going to do is worth what you're giving up. All right. What is it worth it? Here we go. Are you going to feel accomplished or stressed? Challenged, like excited because of the challenge and you made it, or pressured? Happy or guilty? Like a grown up getting things done, or like a chicken with its head cut off? What are you going to feel when you make those choices? Are you going to be proud that, hey, I got it all done today, or I made this adult decision, or are you going to just be miserable because it didn't feel good? Guys, we all know that it's hard sometimes to find time for our Scentsy business. The goal is to not make yourself miserable trying to work Scentsy. Okay. But by the same token, your feelings should not be an excuse to do nothing. You can't sit back and go, well, I might feel stressed today, so I'm not going to do it. You can't make that a reasonable adult decision and still feel like, oh, well, I'm making good decisions for my business. If you have to look back and go, ooh, I probably could have tried. Maybe I could have done a little bit. Then maybe that wasn't the best decision. Because if you don't do anything about your feelings and if you don't think about them, then as you see on here, they're going to rear up later on and smack you in the face. You're going to feel imbalanced, right? Because you're work, 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 and you have no time to relax or downtime. They're going to be a burden. The guilt, the frustration, the exhaustion, it's going to be a burden. So you got to take your feelings into account, but don't let them paralyze you. Don't let that be an excuse to do nothing. Because if the funny thing is if you ignore your feelings, they're going to be the reason you quit. But if you only think about your feelings, you've basically quit anyway. Okay. So there's a lot of things that you can think about. All right. Getting started. What's working versus what's not. Looking back at what you're doing and how things are going and seeing what do I have time for? I'm getting my house clean, I'm getting my animal chores done, I'm getting the kids to school on time and hockey on time and dance class and all that. Is it working? And if it's working, where is Scentsy fitting in there? Because if you're saying my life is working great, but Scentsy is not fitting in there at all, then that that's a different discussion you need to have with yourself about whether or not Scentsy you want Scentsy in there. If you want Scentsy and you want to work it and you want to grow your business, then it's got to be in there somewhere. Even in small increments throughout the day, it's got to be in there somewhere. So if you're looking at what you're doing right now and you're not having time for that, then that might be something that you need to look at. So then decide what you want to get done. I want to build my business. I want to grow my team. I want to grow my customer base. I want to be more consistent on Zoom or on social media or YouTube channel or whatever it is that you want to do. Think about whether or not you have the ability, the skills, the knowledge to do that. And if you don't, reach out for the help that you need because it's out there. You've got 32, 35 people on here that will be willing to help you if there's something that you need to learn or know or a question answered. Write up a plan, be ready to tweak it, but don't abandon it. There's an example that I will give you. Years ago, I met with this guy who did budgets, and he had worked out a budget for me, and it was a long time ago. And I said, I'm practically broke. Why are you putting in here a newspaper and um, evening out? I can't afford that. And what he said to me was, when you put somebody on a budget and you only make them do the required things, they start feeling like they're starved, like they're put upon, and every answer is no, and they break the budget every time. But if you factor in a little bit of money for some fun, then they're more likely to stay on budget because they don't feel like they're starved for joy. Well, the same thing with this, with your time management plan. If you have only head down, work, 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 get up, work, 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 go to bed, get up, do the same thing, you are not going to feel happy and accomplished, and it's not going to be fun. What you're going to feel is put upon and exhausted and grumpy, and you're going to go, heck with it. I'm not doing Scentsy today. And then tomorrow, that might be the same answer. And then the next day, then it becomes a habit not to work your business, not to look at those things and talk about different ways to get around it, find the time. You're not going to do it because you have gone so long in starvation mode or in emergency mode, depends on how you look at it, that you never get to take a breath and relax and go, I feel accomplished today. Okay. So write up your plan, tweak it, don't abandon it. Give yourself some grace. Nobody wants you to make monumental, huge changes today. The only thing anyone would ever say is, what does James Clear say? 1%. Be 1% better today than you were yesterday or the last time you did this. So if today you found 10 minutes to work your business, that's pretty good, right? So tomorrow, hit that 10 minutes and then maybe find another couple somewhere else later in the day. If every day you're striving to make that same level or work it a little bit more to find that time, if you're intentional about how you use your time and what you're looking for, then you're more likely to find the time to work on things and find the time to make it work. Okay, let's see. Don't scramble. If you take that gotta catch up pressure off by having a little bit of a plan, it's going to be easier on you and it's going to open more doors for your creativity. If you are constantly feeling like, I've got to get 20 posts done, got to get it done, got to get it done, because you're cramming it into the one time a week you're going to work on your business, you're going to do standard things. If you're spreading it out where maybe you're doing a couple posts every day and scheduling them out, and you take time to be a little more creative, make it a little more you, let your personality shine through, then you're more likely to reach your customers as well. Okay, let's see. The end of the day, the goal is to feel accomplished and like you got something done, and not that you spent your whole day trying to get something done. All right, let me see. I'm looking at chats. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Oops. Oops. Sorry, this is stop share. There we go. Okay. I'm looking at the chat to see. You can only ride one horse. Yes, Patty. Yes, you really can. You can only ride one horse with one ass. Let's see. Questions? Sleep person. Yep. Patty's a sleep person. Denise likes to get up early. So Denise might be a person who gets up 20 minutes early and sits with her cup of coffee or her Pepsi or whatever and gets things done and feels like that's a great start to her day. But somebody else who needs their sleep, no way is that going to be great for them, right? So they may want to do something during their lunch hour or something like that. Let's see. Way out of my comfort zone, talk to a band director, fundraiser. Okay, very good. Feelings of accomplishment when I use my time wisely and check things off my list. You guys, I am a huge list person. And I'm not kidding you. I'm the kind of person that will write out my to-do list. And if I find myself doing a bunch of things that weren't on my list, I will write them on the bottom of my list just so I can mark them off that I did it, so I can feel accomplished, right? I want to know where my time went. It's like that $100 bill rule we were talking about earlier. You have a $100 bill, you know where it's going because it's in one big chunk, right? But once you break that, you don't know what happened to it. Same thing with my to-do list. If I have stuff on my to-do list and I'm doing stuff that's not on it, I write it down just so I can go back and figure out what I did, what I accomplished, and did that lead to something else? Okay, you guys are so quiet. Questions? Anyone? Comments? Ideas? No? Anybody? Go
We,
ahead.
I think, I'm pretty sure Melissa's group did this too, and with Anna's. It was a couple months ago.
Yeah.
We did this where you're supposed to get so many points a day. How many things did you? And I have to say, for me, well, I laminated. That's how much I liked it. I laminated it. But I think a lot of my team thought they weren't doing anything. But really, it really showed them, well, actually, I am doing things, but it also showed them what they're avoiding, which would bring them success as opposed to busy stuff because they were doing everything but talking to people about booking, sponsoring, and recruiting.
Right.
But they were still doing things. But that's probably why it also looked like they weren't doing anything because they weren't having results because they were doing things like making samples and labeling their catalogs and doing their posts on social media, but they weren't doing the people part. And so I think, I mean, even going back and revisiting that thing, I think it just helps you, even if it helped me in my brain to realize. And then there are people like that. I was like, well, I didn't count that because that's just automatic. And they're like, yeah, but you need to count it.
Yeah. And sometimes it helps you to track what you're doing that's redundant too. Because if you're
Mm.
looking at something, you're like, wow, I do this all the time and I'm not getting any results from
Oh,
that.
true.
You know?
Mm.
But the hard thing between finding time and making time is that, when you're making time, there's an emotional pain sometimes with that. When it's like spending cash versus using your card. When you spend cash, you have an actual physical, emotional pain response to spending large amounts of cash versus handing out the plastic. Well, the same thing with making time, making a choice between doing something that you really want to do because you feel like you should do something else. And so, just because I'm sitting on here saying, make time for your Scentsy business, that doesn't mean that I need to tell you how to do that. It means that you need to decide what that means to you. And some people, like Jackie McManus, is awesome on Instagram. She's all over Instagram and really good at that. I tried that. I can't keep up with it. It just doesn't sink into my head. I can't get that done. I was spending a lot of time trying to be Jackie, making that being consistent with my Instagram. It didn't work for me. So I went back to the things that worked for me, and that helped. It helped me feel more accomplished. It helped me feel like I had some traction in what my goal was. And you need to decide what your goal is. Is your goal to build a team? Then you know that the activities you're doing means you're connecting with people and you're talking with people. So probably that's not the 9 or 10 o'clock at night thing that you should be doing. That's maybe earlier in the day. If your goal is to be really consistent on social media, you can schedule posts any old time you want. 3 o'clock in the morning, if you're awake, schedule some posts. It doesn't matter. So you have to figure out what your goal is and what you want to get accomplished and look at it and see, do I have time for that? And we all do. We all have time. But when I was at a retreat this weekend, and Debbie Pitts, is it Debbie Pitts Palmer? Yep. I'm pretty sure, no, it might have been Ramey. I don't know. It was either Debbie Pitts Palmer or Ramey Babcock. One of them said, whenever you see it, oh no, it was Debbie, because when you see a morning update on her Facebook or whatever, she's doing it while she's on the potty. She flat out told everybody that if I'm scheduling posts in the morning or I'm doing an update, I'm on the potty. Because I mean, she's sitting there, so that works for her. It's a visual not all of us needed, but it works for her, right? So you need to find what works for you. Be intentional about what you want to get done, and then look at your day and go, okay, where's my time? Where do I have that time? Because I know in the past, people have said to me, well, you just need to do it. You just need to stop spending time in the barn, or you just need to not do this or not do that. Um, Quitting the things I love and leaving living creatures to fend for themselves is not going to make me feel better about what I'm doing and how my day is going. It's going to make me feel stressed at the end of the day. Maybe for you, missing all your kids' practices so you can stay home and work won't make you feel very good. Or maybe missing the practices and having, doing a carpool, but going to the games is what you'd rather do. So there's trade-offs. What do you guys do? Does anyone trade things off? Does anyone have a tip or a trick for us? Anyone?
I'll start it because I have a big mouth and I'm always ready to talk when it's too quiet. Um, for me, being self-employed means I have to make it happen. So my big thing is television. So I don't allow myself to watch TV until I've done what I need to do. So I do a reward system. So that's my own reward. Or I do all the peopling things before I can watch TV, but maybe I'll make samples while I watch TV or whatever the non-income producing activity is, I'll do while I watch because it's more like a hobby. Then it feels like crafting.
Right, right.
But the important conversations and focusing in on people, whether it's my team or my customers or whatever, that gets done where I'm kind of more focused. And because I have ADHD, a lot of times I have to set timers. So that works for me. And you have to set timers to eat. Otherwise you forget to eat. So there's lots of different little hacks that you can do, but I'm a toilet poster. When Amy was around, so with Amy, now it's the Scentsy Connect, you can do all your follow-up during your morning bowel movement, people. Like it doesn't have to like be so difficult. Just saying.
Right.
Everybody poops, people. Everybody poops.
Anyone else?
Somebody was handing out stickers actually at SFR that says if you have time to, and it had the
Yeah.
poo symbol. Yeah.
Yeah.
And my team just kind of laughed because I've been saying it for years.
Yeah, I mean, and there's always something that you can do. For me, I have to have a list. And I pack a little bag that because I know I'm going to be out doing stuff. I have this little tote bag. It's a little 31 bag that I carry with me, and it's got all the things I'm going to need. Like if I said this week I'm going to do thank you cards and I'm going to whatever, I put my list in there and all that stuff is all in one spot and then it goes with me, even in my house. Because how many times have I run down to the basement, sat down and started to work and realized everything I needed was upstairs? So sometimes having it all packaged in one spot makes it a lot easier to take with you and a lot easier to work with. Um, Anyone else? Waiting in the school pickup line. Yep. Schedule posts or send messages to follow up. Exactly. Yep. Um, and even, like if you have kids that are young enough to still be napping, then scheduling posts then, you know, there's all kinds of ways that you can make time and find time. But the biggest thing I want to get through tonight is to make sure that you realize that cramming more into your day is not always the answer. It's not. Making sure that you feel good about what you're getting done and feel good about the reason you're doing that, that's the answer. If you get done with your day and you're like, you know what? I got so much done. This was awesome. That's an amazing way to end your day, right? It's a lot better than feeling like doo doo about it or feeling pressured or uncomfortable or unhappy. So, something to think about when you're talking about time management. Anyone else? Any ideas? Thoughts? I'm gonna start calling on people. I know one great time saver. I just happened to see that name and made me think. For those of you who are in the mock VIP group that Cindy Abraham does. So if you're telling me you don't have time to make posts, you need to be part of that group because Cindy does it for you. And the best thing about that is you can go in and grab the pictures. I will cut and paste her words, and then I just go in and tweak it so that it speaks like me, right? Put my own links in there, put my own spin. And I've saved time because she gave me an idea and I ran with it and I got something accomplished. And I can do 4 or 5 of those posts in a couple minutes because it was basically done. So there are resources around you and people who are really good at doing those things. So use that resource and of course be thankful that you have it, but use that resource and you don't have to recreate the wheel. Small team group and everything. VIP, yep. Copy to your team page. Very good. Yep. And they can be on there too. And like the other day, Cindy said something about if you have any of the which this or that ones or which room, which warmer would you post in a room, would you put in a room? Several people made them and put them up there just because she's like, oh, if you have more, post them here. She's open to ideas as well. So that's an idea for you to share your creativity with more people by doing that too. Thanks, Rob. I know. But you are our hero. You get a lot done, and it makes a huge difference for so many of us. So thank you for that. Okay, anything else? We're 5 minutes early, but you guys are so quiet, and I find myself babbling to fill the. I'm starting to get nervous.
One of the things I think I'll add to this is that some people are people pleasers, and people pleasers will get derailed from their goal and their vision and what they really want because they haven't put boundaries in place and said no. So that is one of those things that it takes practice and it's uncomfortable. But I used to have a team member, just as an example. And she's like, okay, I'm going to do this. She would tell me what she's going to do every day because that helped her stay accountable to herself. And I said, great. And then she's like, oh, my neighbor came over. And I said, well, did you tell her you were working? She's like, no. I said, did she come over for a reason? No, she just always stops by. And I said, you're going to have to teach her, no, I'm working from home. Can I come over and see you? Like, can you give me 2 hours and I'll come over and see you? Like, you can't be afraid of what people think. You can't be a people pleaser, and you can't, like, because otherwise you're letting other people dictate your day. You're not controlling your day either. So same thing with notifications on your phone. I turn my notifications off all day long. I know some people have kids and they can't do that, but there's different things you can set on your phone so that if you even have 10 minutes of uninterrupted focus, that could be a game changer for you.
Yeah. And on the opposite of that, that if your day does get derailed because things happen, you need to be okay with it. You need to be okay with sometimes things do happen and you're just not going to get it done, and then you pivot.
Hmm.
So yeah, set those boundaries, but sometimes you can't. Like if your kid is sick, you can't leave them at school just because I had things to do today.
No, I didn't mean that. I meant the
No, no,
neighbor
no. I
is
know you
bored
didn't.
coming over.
Yep, exactly. I know you didn't. Okay, so I'm gonna, I guess, stop recording because I guess we're done. And I took a screenshot of everyone that was on here so that I can I'm gonna write them all down and grab a name and send it to Rand, and we'll post when this video gets posted whose name got drawn. Okay?
Robin, can I say one thing really quick?
Absolutely.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. I know something that works for me, and this might not work for everybody. I work full time, and I keep a little, I love the happy planners. I don't know if you guys know, I'm sure you all know what those are. I have specific tabs on those, and I'll be right in the middle of work. And when somebody will say, hey, I want to do a party or something, and I'll just jot it down really quick. And then I have a specific time that I go back to that book, like at the end of the evening when I can think about things and it's already there. That way I'm not dwelling on it the whole time, like I can't forget about it. And I use post-it notes like crazy, but you know, all of us have our own system to do things, and we'll take tidbits from other people to make it successful for us. Because, like Alyssa, my schedule isn't like Alyssa's. I don't have a little one at home to take care of, and I don't, but we all have our own, challenges, and we just have to do what works for us.
Right.
We do.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I'm glad you said that because one of the things that I love, have you guys ever seen the Rocket Book?
Oh no.
So I love the Rocket Book because I'm a person who jots things down all the time.
Hmm.
And then I lose the paper I jotted it on, or the sticky comes off, or I forget where that note or grab the wrong notebook. So the nice thing about the Rocket one is you write on it and then you can erase it. So all
Oh
my
my
stuff
God.
is in one spot. Like these are all the orders I'm waiting on, right? And I can update every day on whether they're shipped or still posted or whatever. And it keeps it all in one spot. And I don't lose all my notes anymore. So for me, that was a huge time saver because I stopped wasting all the time looking around for the notebook that I wrote that in or the legal pad that I set down, fell behind the couch, or who knows. So I'm glad you said that because yeah, having a system or having a place to jot things down and come back to later is also helps you get things accomplished.
Hmm. And I
Yep,
like what you said about not being on Instagram, and that how that it doesn't work for you, because I've stopped trying to be like everybody else, and it's just made it just has been such a clarity for me. We're not all the same.
exactly. Yeah, I got my book on Amazon. They have their own website and sometimes it's cheaper on Amazon, sometimes it's cheaper on their site. They've got small versions, bigger versions. Yes, Instagram's like
It is,
full time
Patty.
job. Yeah. So that's just a thing. But if you guys think of more things that work for you, when this video is posted tomorrow, I believe it'll be tomorrow, put that in the notes, like put that in the comments so that other people can see because sharing ideas is also going to help us find time. Because what works for you might not work for me, but oh, that's a good idea. And if I tweaked it, I
Mhm.
could do it. And
Yep.
then it would work for me. Okay. Anything else? No, no, no. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here tonight.
Thank you all. Yeah, thank you.
All right. Bye. Good night. Good night.
Bye.